Hi, host Eric here. Host Talking to Finnish People. I want to talk about the importance of shaming shame-sensitive cultures. It's, in my opinion, one of the most important things we can do in life because you've got a couple of cultures, multiple cultures around the world that are shame-sensitive, which means they prioritize avoiding shame over truth and justice and stuff like that. And they're hierarchy focused. They're communitarian cultures. Places like China, places like any authoritarian regime. North Korea, I'm sure, is the same way. Islamic cultures. These are all authoritarian cultures that justify rights violations and utilize primarily shame to keep everybody in line. It's not only criminal, but it's shameful to go against the Chinese government's ways. It's shocking that somebody would be so brazen as to criticize China from afar. Why, American, how dare you criticize China? As though China doesn't criticize other countries, right? As though Chinese people don't criticize others. And even if they don't, that's not a good thing. That's an awful fucking thing. That's terrible. That's the worst thing imaginable. If you're not criticizing your own country and other countries, then you're not doing your job as a human being. If you have any interest in politics at all. Now, you obviously do, Jeff Chen. But I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking about Islamic cultures as well. This is why it's critical that we mock and shame Muhammad and all the icons of Islamic culture because they don't think it's okay. We have to desensitize them to it. There's no other word for it. If you have been brainwashed such that you don't think it's okay to shame wrongness, then you need to be shamed. I don't know what else to tell you. If you persist in wrongness that is advocating for violence, if you are persisting in apartheid for women and are defending it as legitimate, I mean, why do we have this double standard? If somebody were at a party and started saying a bunch of super racist shit, right? People would call them out on it. Why the hell not call out what's much worse, which is advocating for unjustified violence, advocating on behalf of tyrants and despots. For what reason? Because you're brainwashed. Now, how do they keep you brainwashed? Well, they shame you. But now that you're loose out here in the wild, we need to make sure you understand it hurts worse. Hurts a lot worse to advocate for unjustified violence, to betray the common norm of reciprocal burdens. That free expression is the way to solve our problems. The free expression is the modality through which we understand truth. That your shitty arguments have to withstand muster to be the right arguments. And that you should have the right arguments if you're going to maintain that you are in the accurate side of the issue and dispute. So, I want to point out the fact that, one, this is a battle for the soul of humanity. Are we going to hold each other accountable to the same standards? Or are we going to fall victim to the lies of hierarchy, the lies of communitarianism that say some other person's vision of a group good ought to take priority over our autonomy and individual liberty? Now, for any Chinese nationals who wish to comment further on this Taiwan video, I'm going to make very clear my position on this, because I am shocked and dismayed to discover the sort of arguments that I'm hearing. First argument I hear, you should mind your own business. It's not your place as an American to criticize China. You should criticize America. America does all kinds of shitty stuff. My answer to that is simple. I do criticize America all the time. It does do shitty stuff. I oppose it. I'm consistent in my application of principle to both places. Are you? Simple question. Do you apply the same standards of evaluation when you're evaluating other countries as your own? Or is it not acceptable for you to voice opinions explaining why your country is doing fucked up shit? it's okay for me to express opinions voicing my position on why my country's doing fucked up shit and yours. I'm doing you a favor. Why? Because your country's doing fucked up shit it shouldn't do. That's why I'm calling it out. I'm adding to the public discourse. I'm helping you to understand. Spread the word. Your country is subject to criticism. I will be criticizing it. The more pushback I get from you fuckers, the more I'm going to criticize it. Why? Because it just indicates to me that you guys aren't even close to being ready to enter the public discourse meaningfully. And you deserve to get your asses whooped so you learn some meaningful skills. The best way to learn how to debate is to get your fucking ass whipped. And somewhat harshly here. I'm going to be the first to admit that I have not been gentle with you, Jeff Chen. But then you're not advocating something that gentle people advocate. You're advocating unjustified violence against innocent, peace-loving people. Would you feel so comfortable advocating it if you had to shoot that Chinese 14-year-old boy in the face? Oh, I'm sorry, Taiwanese? Would you? If you were the one who had to go in there with the gun? Smash someone's face in? Would you be okay with it? Are you sure? Are you sure you're justified in doing that? Well, why won't they? Why aren't they just as justified in coming and killing you guys then? I mean, you assume you're going to win the war, but if it's a civil war, well, I mean, in the American Civil War, different countries sided with different sides. You brought up that as an example, indicated that should be a corollary. So if that's a corollary, then I say we should side with Taiwan. What do you have to say about this? Do you understand how your arguments fall apart at the slightest push? Look, we all get shit wrong. We all do. And some of us get hammered harder than others. Understand this. You are welcome to engage in any discourse you wish with me. And I am not trying to dissuade you from engaging in discourse. I'm trying to issue upon you the natural consequences of advocating for reprehensible behavior. Something is reprehensible when you are advocating for violence against your fellows that is not justified by adequate cause. And you fail to provide any adequate cause for violence. Okay? If in fact a civil war, as I said, if you want to win the point that you have any adequate cause for violence and it's a civil war, well then there's no adequate cause for us to side with China at all. Right? Taiwan's been a very healthy, well-functioning member of the world community for quite a long time now. Why? Well, they're not subject to authoritarian rule. They're able to do this. They're able to engage back and forth in discourse. So, Jeff Chen, you pissed me off. I kind of overreacted a little bit. But I want you to understand something. I encourage you to engage in this discourse. And I encourage you to find a way to advocate what China should do that doesn't involve assuming that China, in fact, gets to have Taiwan. Okay? If you're gonna take Taiwan, then advocate the action you're going to use. Advocate, say, I am hereby advocating that China send the troops over there and shoot anybody who disagrees and take it over militarily. Okay? Don't try to back your way into some sort of compromisey thing where China gets its way but doesn't have to force anybody. They are forcing people. Whether it's under threat of violence or actual violence, it is forcing people. So understand that. Advocate, yes, we should force them, but then make an argument that doesn't prevent us from making the same argument that says we should force China. Because if it's good enough for you as an argument, it's good enough for us. That's called reciprocal burdens. Okay? So, Jeff Chen, here's my nicer response to you. You did piss me off with your fucking awful advocacy. And frankly, it's awful. But I understand that I'm not helping necessarily just by blasting you. And I want to encourage you to engage in as much discourse as you're willing to engage in. And I'll even go as far as say, I'm sorry for being so much of a dick. I should have been less of a dick. My bad. Hopefully you'll stick around and talk it out more. Probably you won't though after that last video. Well, live and learn. Live and learn. I'm still learning lessons about life.